This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. From Brooklyn to DC, we're gonna stop these war crimes. From Detroit to LA, we're gonna stop these war crimes. From Chicago to Princeton, we're gonna stop these crimes, stop these crimes, stop these crimes, stop these crimes. This little light, this little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. We're gonna let it shine. We're gonna let it shine. This little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's give peace a chance. We gotta let it shine. Oh, let's give peace a chance. Help me out, come on. We gotta let it shine. Let's give peace a chance. Let's give peace a chance. We're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We're gonna lay down their swords and shields down in the Pentagon, down in the Pentagon, down in the Pentagon. We're gonna lay down their swords and shields down in the Pentagon. You're gonna study war no more. We ain't gonna pay for war no more. We ain't gonna pay for war no more. We ain't gonna pay for their wars no more, no more. We ain't gonna pay for their wars no more. We ain't gonna pay for their wars no more. Ain't gonna pay for their wars no more. We gotta reign in the would-be king down in Washington, down in Washington, down in Washington. We gotta reign in the would-be king down in Washington. Ain't gonna study war no more. Speaking of kings, there's going to be a lot of talk about a great man whose name was king, and he's the only king I revere, and that's Martin Luther King.
Yes.
Yeah. And I heard another No King's Day is coming, and I hope we have some demands when we get there. I'm going to do a song I wrote, and it's called Daring to Speak, and I want to dedicate this to all those who dare to speak, especially the people that are here today who are going to speak to us. I even wrote a verse for Martin. By the way, we're going to have a tribute to Martin Luther King in a town right near where I live. It's called Bound Brook. The Bound Brook Presbyterian Church on Sunday, the 18th at 6:30 p.m. So if anybody wants to know more, just ask me after. It's going to be a lot of singing. Here we go. Daring to speak against the war machine, to stop the destruction of innocent beings. From the streets of New York City to Washington, D.C., we're sending an urgent warning. We are students, teachers, firemen, nuns, veterans, daughters and sons. And we're marching through the streets with our banners and dreams for a world built on justice instead of on greed. And we say, turn off the corporate CBS News. Throw off their blanket of lies. It's It's time to listen to some serious truth. For the sake of life, let us rise. Martin Luther King was a very brave man. He stood up and spoke out against the war in Vietnam. He said, "Oh, my mighty nation, what have we done by trying to rule the world? 'Cause we have the biggest bombs." And he said, "Turn off the TV and the corporate news. Throw off their blanket of lies. It's time to listen to some painful truth. For the sake of life, let us rise." This is a new verse. On the shores of Caracas, too many have died. A president kidnapped, bombs dropped from the sky. We the people can't stay silent. We must organize to stop corporate pirates, to stop Trump's war crimes. And I say, turn off the TV and the CBS News. Throw off their blanket of lies. It's time to listen to some serious truth. For the sake of life, for the sake of us all, let us rise.
Thank you so much, Charlene. My name is Laura Zerflu. I am the founder and leader of Indivisible Cranberry. And I'm here today with Reverend Bob Moore from the Coalition for Peace Action. We're co-hosting this rally against the actions in Venezuela. The Reverend is going to speak first. He is the Executive Director of Coalition for Peace Action for over 44 years.
Wow. I feel like I'm in the middle of a nightmare. Do you feel that way too?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, I think the guy who's now in the White House thinks that he's a little mixed up. I think he thinks that he's Rambo and he's supposed to go around and start wars all over the world. This is so troubling. It is so deeply unconstitutional. And you know, I revere the Constitution of the United States.
Yes.
People spilled their blood to get that Constitution done. And there is a separation of powers. And that separation of powers is very clear. Only the U.S. Congress can declare war, not a president. He is acting like a dictator, which is what he is. And we aren't going to take it. No. We're going to stand up to him and we're going to say, no, you can't do this. You know, there's so much I could say about how troubling this is. But I think we've already gotten a glimpse, just to keep things brief here, I think we've already gotten a glimpse of where this is all leading. Because the person who thinks he's the emperor, the dictator, he's already saying it's not just Venezuela, which he is doing that primarily for the oil money. You all understand that, right? Yeah. This is all about wealth for the Trump family. Right. And it's shameful. Yeah. It's immoral. And we need to speak out against it. We aren't going to take it, are we? No. All right, so we will not allow this. We are going to stand up and say no to dictatorship, no to wars, And the wars that this dictator wants to start, he just keeps coming up with more countries day in and day out. First it's Venezuela, right? Then it's Colombia. Then it's Cuba. And then it's Greenland, which we have a nice Greenland flag out here. So, what are we supposed to do? Just say, oh, well, our dictator wants to start wars everywhere in the Western Hemisphere. Everywhere. He wants to take over every country because that's the only thing that he will satisfy him. Well, we aren't going to let that happen. Let's say no to war in Venezuela. No to war in Venezuela and everywhere else in the Western Hemisphere.
And in the world.
And in the world, amen to that. So those are my remarks. I wanted to keep them fairly brief, and Laura, come on and introduce our next speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Moore. I'm happy to introduce Jordan Lewis. He is currently in his 8th year working under the leadership of our beloved Congresswoman, Bonnie Watson-Coleman. He currently serves as her chief of staff, or deputy chief of staff, and he's also the executive vice president for the New Jersey Young Democrats and the immediate past Mercer County Young Democrats outreach chair. Jordan.
Speak, Jordan! Thank you, Pastor Moore. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone that's always showing up for Princeton, New Jersey, and beyond. We're always standing up on behalf of residents and citizens. Now, the Congresswoman is currently in Washington, D.C. right now, fighting on each and every one of your behalves. And she is very proud of Princeton. She's very proud of each and every one of you. And she says no to war.
Yes!
Yes! Now, she is calling on each and every member of Congress, from Democrats to Republicans, that share the same belief as in humanity. And there's no king. No king. Can you say it? No king.
No king.
She is relying on each and every one of you to make calls to every member of Congress, to make calls to every state, and to denounce what the president is doing and that administration is doing.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're calling on each and every one of you. And our office number is 609-883-0026. If you have any issues, you reach out to us. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you again to Bonnie Watson-Coleman. Give her our thanks for her strong leadership. Richard Moody is a veteran, 27-year former fighter pilot. He's now a peace activist working with Coalition for Peace Action, and he is a fellow Cranberry resident.
Yeah, my name's Richard Moody, and I'm a Navy fighter pilot veteran. I served with the Royal Navy and the U.S. Navy. In fact, I was in Top Gun when it was first formed, and unfortunately, I have a serious back issue. That's where I'm hobbling with a cane, because I ejected from my burning fighter during a Top Gun mission all those years ago, and it's come to roost. So I'm very, very concerned about the treatment of veterans, the PTSD, the Agent Orange sufferers and dyers. And I think the Venezuela situation, it's not just in a vacuum. It's much greater than that, because, as you probably know, this president of ours, and I say ours because I am an American citizen as well as a British citizen, has been bombing Somalia just about every day for probably 4 or 5 months. For what reason? I think because there's a terrorist group called Al-Shabaab there. We, of course, been attacking and killing the people in the poorest country in the world, Yemen, for about 5 or 6 years, if not longer. And now, of course, we've invaded Nigeria, of all people, because the Christians are not being treated well. You tell me that Trump is a Christian? I don't think so. And this situation in Venezuela, as Bob alluded to, Caracas obviously is in the hot spot. But then, and of course, Cuba and Colombia and Greenland. And Greenland really concerns me because being an ex-Navy officer, I'm fully aware I operated in NATO exercises about 10 times. And you probably know the ruling in NATO is if one country in NATO is attacked, all the other countries have to respond. And there are 32 countries in NATO. Sweden is the latest one. So who knows what's going to happen if we do that. I hate to think it. But it is really concerning. And what I find so incredible is that we were killing these innocent sailors in boats in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific, claiming that they were drug dealers. Now, there's been absolutely no proof if that's the case. And if they weren't peddling drugs into the US. And why didn't we capture the boats and inspect them and find out what they were doing? And so Trump has now kidnapped, and that is the word, kidnapped Maduro for being a drug smuggler. And yet the president of Honduras was jailed by Biden for drug smuggling into the States. And guess what? Trump has now pardoned him, purely, I think, because it was Biden who put him in jail. So the whole situation is just totally out of control. And I'd just like to say a few words as a veteran, because the veteran suicide rate in this country is absolutely horrendous. It's something like 45 a day, 15,000 a year. And that's our country. But what about the veterans in Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan? Same with PTSD. I've got 3 veteran friends who've got serious PTSD. 2 of them have got Agent Orange from Vietnam. I'm seeing my dear friend Dick Knight, who's a member of the coalition, next week. I see him on a regular basis. He's been in hospital at the VA administration in Lance, New Jersey for about a year this time around. It's not the first time. And of course, our president fired 80,000 staff on the Veterans Administration and has cancelled most of the funding for USAID. And USAID was instrumental in trying to clean up Vietnam. Vietnam have lost about 5 million people from Agent Orange, whereas they lost 3 million in the conflict. We've lost about 300,000 soldiers from Agent Orange, which was the dioxin defoliant. The people who won in that scene were, of course, Monsanto and Dow Chemical, the military-industrial complex as well. So the whole situation is really a very broad situation, as I think has been alluded to already. It's not just Venezuela, which is horrific, but the fact that all these other things are going on. And we have a military, the Pentagon budget, which is not the total spending. The total spending is a lot more than the budget, is $1.1 trillion a year. It's absolutely horrendous. And we have over 400 bases in the United States. We have close to 900 bases overseas. You're not going to believe it, but China has 6 bases outside China, and Russia has 6 bases outside the old Soviet Union. So there's something wrong with that picture. And we are spending more than the next 11 countries combined on our military. So it's very, very worrying. And my heart goes out to everybody who's suffering in Venezuela. It's not the end of it all. People are being killed, and even Cubans who were killed there, I understand. So it's a very disturbing situation. But thank you very much for listening.
All right. Bravo, Richard!
Thank you so much, Richard. Jeff Laurenti is the board chair for the Coalition for Peace Action, and he has a few words to say also.
All right, to Jordan, I want to make clear, this isn't just Princeton folk here. Important though Princeton is to the intellectual as well as financial leadership of the Democratic Party that you have worked with. I'm from Trenton. All right, and Ewing and Cranberry. So this is not a narrowly focused local group of just Princeton. No, ours is a movement of all people across this county, across this state, across this country.
Yes!
Because what is striking is that despite the technological prowess and the success of the raid that ran off with Maduro and his missus, that the American public is not in awe and convinced that this is the right course of action. The American public is still undecided in many quarters. A majority is suspicious and somewhat negative. We must firm that up as a protest of the entire American people, Democrats, independents, and yes, a good share of Republicans, saying no to war. The MAGA movement itself is fracturing over whether it is strictly isolationist or whether it is a testosterone-fueled strike everybody and everybody that you can because we have the power to do it. Last year, we marked the 80th anniversary of the climactic final year of the most devastating war in all of human history. We marked the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb on Japan, which represented, in a sense, the culmination of how the politics of struggle, of force, of imposing your might on someone else will play out, and also the 80th anniversary of humankind's combining together to create the United Nations, the notion of a world order based on law, on justice, and on negotiation. So we face this, face in one direction or another. Do we look back to the world before 1914, when wars of conquest, wars of spheres of influence were accepted as that's the way the world goes? Or do we look forward to the world that the Franklin Roosevelts and the others of that generation saw as essential after the devastation of 2 world wars, of a world in which we work together as common citizens of a common humanity? And I think that the answer is clearly the second. Unfortunately, our dear leader still yearns for the world of William McKinley, the world of tariffs, the world of might making right, or at least making power. And in that respect, I think our task is clearly still ahead of us, that what we need to do is combine all our efforts to say no to war, no to aggression, no to the mentality that force is its own reward, because it is much easier to get into a war than to get out of one. And that is something that I think our people have come to learn and appreciate from our adventures, misguided back in the 60s in terms of trying to maintain a friendly government in one part of Vietnam, to the just within the past 20 years, our invading Iraq. This time it is done without even a figment of the political legitimacy of domestic congressional approval, and none at all internationally. And you know, when you don't find other countries that agree with you, maybe you should think twice about going into a war. We fight, as was written into that UN Charter, armed force shall not be used save in the common interest. And the common interest is when the world community agrees that action needs to be taken, not when our dear leader has a brainstorm, like a sunspot, that then motivates him to strike here or there or wherever. We must congratulate him, though, at least on this, his transparency, because we have heard no talk now about restoring democracy. We've heard no talk from this administration now about installing the people who actually had won last year's Venezuela election. No talk about releasing political prisoners or promoting human rights. No, what we have heard is oil. What we have heard is we'll run this country. This is not the future for a peaceful world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I would like to say a few words.
Very nice.
about the current actions in Venezuela in the context of the dark anniversary we remembered yesterday. January 6th was an attempt to overthrow our democratic government by a despot determined to retain power regardless of the will of the people. Trump has lied endlessly about the results of the 2020 election and about the violent insurrection that took place, calling the rioters patriotic, peaceful protesters. I would encourage you not to go to that page. This propaganda is anti-democratic, false, self-interested, and an embarrassment to our country, just as Trump's actions in Venezuela are. He's kidnapped Maduro in order to steal Venezuela's oil. He has declared the U.S. will run Venezuela and that we will control their oil indefinitely, while he will control the revenue generated. He briefed the oil companies about the planned military strike days or possibly weeks before briefing Congress, rewarding oil executives for their millions of dollars of donations to his campaign. This contravenes the War Powers Resolution of 1973, which requires that the president consult with and report to Congress when using defensive force in advance of a congressional vote. Instead of briefing Congress, this administration lied repeatedly leading up to the attack, explicitly telling members of Congress that it would not undertake regime change operations.
That's right.
Unsurprisingly, Trump has no plan for what to do with Venezuela aside from taking their oil. He has no plan to ready them for democracy, saying, "We have to fix the country first. You can't have an election." I need to add today, this administration's ICE thugs murdered a woman in Minnesota. He then lied about what that video makes clear. Adding to his criminality, Trump is responsible for a woman's death in order to further terrorize Americans and in the hopes that it is strengthening his political position and his regime. Like on January 6th and again today, Trump has acted lawlessly and violently to implement an unconstitutional takeover that will benefit himself and his cronies. And like on January 6th and today, he has lied to the American public about it. And like on January 6th and today, we must continue to speak the truth about his actions and insist that he uphold his oath to Constitution and the law.
Yes.
Yes!
I wanted to read a brief statement from a Princeton professor, Martin Flaherty. He's a visiting professor at the School for Public and International Affairs. Trump's actions in the abduction of Maduro and his wife have, in a single stroke, violated the U.S. Constitution through the failure to obtain authorization from Congress and the United Nations Charter, by the use of force against Venezuela without either the justification of self-defense or the sanction of the Security Council. These violations will serve as an invitation to authoritarian leaders elsewhere and further destabilize the embattled international order. Okay.
Maybe Venezuela will kidnap ours.
What's that? We did have one speaker that was going to try to make it. I'm just going to ask if Eduardo was able to make it today. If not, we'll have our last speaker come up. Do we have Eduardo? No.
It's a public library, sir. It's a public library. Enjoy the public library.
Sue Allman is the New Jersey State Director for Senator Andy Kim. A committed reformer for over a decade, Sue served as the Executive Director of the New Jersey Working Families Alliance, a nonprofit organization that focuses on fighting political corruption in Trenton on both sides of the aisle. And in 2024, Sue was the Democratic nominee for Congress in New Jersey's 7th District. Her high-profile race against Congressman Tom Kean Jr. was the most expensive House race in New Jersey history. Sue.
Hello, Mercer County! So it's really serendipitous that today at 5 o'clock this rally started, because today at 5 o'clock down in Washington, D.C., my boss and your Senator Kim, was actually on the floor giving remarks about the situation in Venezuela. So we are so proud of him and so proud of our team, and so mostly So proud of all of you and everyone around the state who's been building and fortifying and sticking with this movement over the last, has it been 10 years since Trump first came on the scene and we had to all deal with it. And here we are, stronger than ever, with more resolve than ever. What we know from this past week is that Trump has no plan. He is exhibiting the same type of mobster extortion politics that unfortunately we know all too well here in New Jersey. And it would be funny, except Trump is armed with an entire military to carry out that type of activity. And that's terrifying and frustrating. And this will do nothing to keep us safe. This will do nothing to improve our quality of life. All it does is isolate us further from our allies. Look what Europe had to do. It's embarrassing. Central and South America, this is embarrassing. I mean, I hope that Trump hasn't done lasting damage to the American brand around the world, but I'm not so sure. But this is not going to keep us safe. The nature of war is also changing. The old rules, someone mentioned McKinley, the rules from the 1800s, which is if you protect your own border, then you're going to be safe. In a world of the internet and media and misinformation, that's not the case anymore.
Right.
So we cannot use 18th, 19th, 20th century warlike thinking and imperialism in this country anymore. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And the third thing, and I think this is a theme which all of us here are familiar with in New Jersey, and all of us have fought against in its many shades, and many of you for decades, is this is a war to keep very wealthy people even more powerful and more wealthy. Imperialism never helps the people at home. Imperialism helps enrich the top 0.00001% of people. And it is on behalf of all of us, all around the world, that we stand here today and we stand in unity and we stand in solidarity and we stand with great bravery to fight against this. And it is because of this that I am proud to work for Senator Kim, and I am proud to be here in community with all of you, and I'm so grateful to Cranberry Indivisible and the rest of all the groups who put this together, and for Laura, wherever she went, who called me today. There she is. Thank you, Laura, for calling me today, inviting us here, and thank you all for standing out in what is probably each of your 100th cold day with a sign. And I'm grateful to all of you, and on behalf of Senator Kim, thank you, and keep up the fight. We will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. That was inspirational. Let's give her another hand. So I happen to be a little bit of a long-winded preacher, so I'm going to do a second part of my talk here for a few minutes, and then we'll call on Charlene to give us some closing music. And I wanted to talk about the really deep, long-term problem that we've had with militarism. Militarism. Now, militarism is grounded in the idea that somehow might makes right. That might makes right. That's essentially what Stephen Miller just said yesterday. Might makes right. Well, let me tell you that that is not the way people with a conscience or with any soul think about things. Might does not make right. Only right makes right. We have this huge, and Richard gave an excellent overview there, this huge military complex, and it's a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. It's telling the American people, don't worry, whatever problem we have, whatever challenge we face, we can just send in our Marines to take care of it. That's right. Because that doesn't solve any problem. It makes the problem worse. And speaking of funding, the funding is so disproportionate. 60% of our federal budget, the allocatable budget, not counting the trust funds, 60% of the allocatable budget is going to pay for escalating militarism. And this is wrong and it's evil. So we need to be people of peace who will stand up and say, no, that's not correct. More and more military force does not bring about peace. Only diplomacy, only cooperation, only collaboration. Those are the only things that bring about a peaceful world. The United Nations was founded, sisters and brothers, to try to put an end to war, and it started to do that somewhat effectively. But then when major countries like the United States of America pull out their support and trash the United Nations, that means that we're going to have more and more wars. The president has already said what is on his mind, what he's planning to do. You know, earlier when he was reelected, people were saying, oh, he won't do all that stuff he's talking about. Remember, he said he'll be a dictator on day one. I don't think it even took that long. He was a dictator on second one. The first second he was in office, he started being a dictator. We've got to believe what he says. And he says, next, I'm going to go after Colombia. We say no to war with Colombia. No! Then he says, I'm going to go ahead and take care of Cuba through violence and through militarism. No to war against Cuba. No! And then, of all things, Greenland. Now, Greenland is under the auspices of Denmark, as you know, but it's its own country as well. It's self-ruled.
Their parents don't pay tariffs.
Yeah. So this is crazy. You know, how could we say that NATO is going to be broken apart? NATO has been the strongest, one of the strongest things that tries to prevent war by saying if you attack one, then all are being attacked. Well, Trump wants to attack Denmark and Greenland, and that's only the start. And we need to say no to that. No! No to militarism. No! No to war. No! No to violence. No! Yes to peace. Yes! Yes to collaboration. Yes! Yes to civil action. Yes! Sisters and brothers, I'm so grateful that you have turned out tonight to help us project this message. Let us take it out into our communities and spread that word. So now I'm going to ask Charlene. Oh, you're going to more have? Oh, and the call to action, and then we'll get Charlene.
You know, every good organizer has a call to action, so we do tonight. Go to peacecoalition.org. At the very top, there's a call to action to email our representatives. They're taking a vote either tonight or tomorrow morning in the Senate on the War Powers Resolution, and you need to email our representatives and call them in order to direct the administration to remove U.S. forces from the hostilities in Venezuela. So it's peacecoalition.org. And we have up here a QR code to go to that website. We also have the QR code if you want to get on the Indivisible Cranberry email list for more rallies and more actions you can take. And the email is up there too. And I want to thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
And now Charlene will play us out.
I'd like to echo the last few words that Bob left us. This is a song I wrote a few years ago. I wish it was no longer needed, but here we are. This is called Say No to War. And if you could all join me at the end of each verse, say no to war. I've got an idea to heal this planet. I've got an idea to heal this planet. I've got an idea to heal this planet. Say no to war. Say no to war. Say no to war. What are we gonna tell our children? What are we gonna tell our children? What are we gonna tell our children? Everybody, say no to war. Say no to war. Say no to war. When are we gonna push away sadness? When are we gonna learn to share gladness? When are we gonna end all this madness? When are we gonna be free, you and me? Free from this insanity. What are we gonna tell the people? What are we gonna tell the people? What are we gonna tell the people? Everybody, say no to war. Say no to war. Say no to war. Let's protect this earth, it's our only salvation. Let's think of tomorrow, future generations, not just ours, but all of creation's. It's time to reveal what is real. It's time to heal. We've got an idea to heal this planet. We've got an idea to heal this planet. We've got an idea to heal this planet. Say no to war. Everybody help us out. Say no to war. Say no to war.
Okay, well, thank you again for coming tonight. We really appreciate that. And by the way, our crowd count tonight, we had a couple people out there counting how many folks were here. Over 200 of us have turned out tonight. That's wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. And as a reward for being here, you get to go home a little early.
Yes, even better.